studies that's trying to be better than somebody else in the performance industry. And that's what you are if you're in the trucking industry, farming industry, anything else. You are in a position that you are competing against the guy that's sitting next to you. So the truth of the matter is, whether you have a better maintenance structure, whether you have better drivers, it is important to the point that you are in a situation that you can compete at a level that surpasses that man sitting next to you. Now, to do so, you also have to look at how things have changed. And as things change, can you change with them to be more effective? For example, 35 years ago, when I was looking at this industry, I noticed something really strange. It was the idea that nobody really cared about what fuel prices were. If a fuel cost a certain amount of money, like 77 cents a gallon, think about that, 77 cents a gallon in the early 90s, and look where we are today. Absolutely crazy. But here's the deal. If I talk to you, any of you out here, about your fuel, it is one of the most expensive parts of operation. Although, what is it? It is something that you have very little understanding and knowledge of. Your operation is to buy fuel and to consume fuel, but not to understand fuel. That has to change. If you're going to be competitive in today's market, you're going to have to understand. Everybody is starting to talk about EV, okay? Electric vehicles. What's going on? Are you going to be able to be part of the electric vehicle, forward movement? Well, I hate to tell you this, as a supporter of anything that is beneficial to this nation, EV vehicles would not allow you to be able to support in a position of a military action. If something happens and you will not, do you have the infrastructure in your community at this point in time to be able to support your EV vehicles? If you do, hurrah. But I'm betting that you do not have. Be careful as you go ahead in this world of the EV structure. Remember, when the EV goes down, they'll depend on those with the fossil fuels to continue with the operation. That is the only thing that we have to fall back on. It's kind of like if you fall back and don't have fuel, you got to fall back on the horse. So, with that being said, let's get back to the ideas of understanding your fuel. Your fuel, your diesel fuel, has changed dramatically. In 1993, October of 1993, they came out with low sulfur diesel. What do they think? What does everybody think low sulfur diesel is? Means that it doesn't have a lubricant in it. People think that. That's not the only part about it. They hydrocrack the fuel. We're not going to get real technical about it. We're going to stay layman terms on this presentation. But when you hydrocrack your fuel, you end up with a material that is actually less structured for lubricating your liners of your engines. All right? If you don't lubricate your liners, think about having a two-cycle engine, your weed eater, something like that, if you don't run oil in your engine. What are you going to do? You're going to wear out your liner. Well, can your engine run without lubricant? Sure it can. How long can it run? It can run, but it's going to substantially reduce the amount of operability of that engine and the power of that engine. Your liner is going to wear out. As it wears out, you're going to lose power. As you lose power, you're going to increase the consumption of fuel. Fact. So what do? You go out here and you buy something off of the shelf. You buy something to put in your fuel. You talk to your fuel jobber. Your fuel jobber says, I already use a chemical formulation that will help you. When he gives you that chemical formulation, you ask no questions. Why? You believe him? Why do you believe him? Because that's just the way it is. Do you think maybe you're taking advantage? I'm here to say to you, paying attention to what you have, as in fuels today, will give you an ability to compete tomorrow. Our fuels are changing to a point that now your OEMs, your manufacturers of your equipment, are doing what? They're voiding warranty on your equipment. Do you know that? In the past, if you read Caterpillar, Cummins, Detroit, the rest of them, if you read their warranty paperwork, you will see that it's almost the exact word for word. However, it's like a different lawyer wrote up the papers. It says that they would cover the warranty. If you used a chemical, they would cover the warranty. But if the chemical or something caused a problem, they would void the warranty. Well, up to just the short past here, what has ended up happening is the actual manufacturers, if you had a failure, a pump go bad, a liner issue, an injector, they would jump right on top and take care of that and warranty that part on your equipment. That's wonderful. Guess what? They did that because in that document it said, our equipment is designed to operate on all diesel fuels that were available in the marketplace. When those documentations were wrote up, this was before the BIOS. This was before Peter Bell and Jason Hoare and Willie Nelson and all of them got together over at Carl's Corner, Texas, and said, we're going to promote biodiesel. They took advantage of Willie Nelson. They convinced your lawmakers to mandate biodiesel. Why? Because it was a profitable tool. Okay? When you mandate something that is not effective and you make problems with the equipment, you as the end user are the one that is going to be the one to carry the bag. You're the one to pay for the equipment. You're the one to fix the equipment. You're the one to be put out that you can't purchase an extra pair of shoes for your kids. It upsets me. I've worked with this for a long time. And what I've noticed is that the politicians, motivated by other types of groups that want to mandate your biofuels, have now created a monster for you, because here's the deal. That OEM manufacturer of your engine, who originally said your equipment can be operated on any fuel available, now has 5 or 6 fuels to deal with instead of 2. Used to have only number 2 fuel and kerosene, number 1. Now, number 1 fuel is a dry fuel. It's used for cold weather operability, and for no other reason should you be running that in your equipment. And the cold weather operability fuels are hard on your liners because it's dry. It's hard on your injectors. It's hard on your O-rings. And in certain cases, it's mandatory to operate because you need to keep this equipment operating during these cold climates. You don't have a choice. You got to feed the cattle. You got to get the tractors out there to the field. You got to get the trucks down the road. You got to run Highway 2 out in North Dakota. But then the summer comes, and you start to see the effects. You start to see liner wear. You start to see injector failure. What do most people do? I will guarantee you just about every person that is in this room today that has had issues with their fuel blames the last time they fueled on the fuel the issue that they have the problem with. In other words, if you started to have filter problems, what do you say? Oh, I just picked up fuel at such and such a place last one. That's probably 90% of the time not true of what the problem came from. It becomes an accumulated effect over a period of time. Pinpointing your problem, diagnosing your problem properly is what Global Energy Research and Development, or what the boys have as Clean Fire, is all about. We study the effects of fuel. And what is happening today is a situation that we all need to be paying a little bit more attention to, because your time-sensitive schedules, your contractual requirements, is very important to your performance, and your performance is what keeps you in the game. If you can't get to a certain location due to an effect related to fuel or to the effect of not checking the air pressure in your tires and having a flat or some other issue. It affects your performance, puts you out of business or puts you on the next level down. Now here's another thing. You need to understand your fuel, you need to understand your oil. Why do you need to understand this? Because it's no longer the situation where the old guys used to say, oh, I don't care. I get a new truck every 3 years. I used to hear that all the time. Oh, I don't worry about my oil. I don't worry about my fuel. I don't worry about what I do with my truck. I get a new truck. You can't get parts today. There are truck repair shops in this country shutting down, not because they don't have work. They have all the work in the world, but they can't get the water pumps. They can't get the starters. They can't get the replacement parts. Well, they're having to close down. What about you? If you're making a payment on a truck and you're going down the road and the next thing you know, you've got a repair that needs to be taken care of and you can't get a starter, you can't get a certain item for that vehicle, you're still going to have to be forced to make that truck payment. So maintaining a good maintenance schedule, maintaining and stepping above what is currently available, as in what way people maintain things today on your own, is very important. You'll be here for the future. The EV vehicles that are coming on, you're not going to stop them. That's part of the routine. That's part of the advancements going on. But it's also not the only thing that is available. Most of the people in here are not in a position that they're receiving grants. What are the big players that are getting these EV vehicles doing? They're getting grants from the federal government, local, state, whatever the case may be, so that they can do it. You're not. But you're still competitive. You're still competitive because when you're out there on the road, you are the individual, you will be the individual to get the load to the next location because you still have a proven, effective solution, and that is the fuel you're consuming currently. Now, if we have a situation where we don't have access to the EV batteries, if we don't have this or that, we still have the ability to have bulk tanks to have fuel for a certain period of time. Now, where the future goes, none of us know. But biodiesel did the same thing. Biodiesel became a situation where it was brought on and forced upon us, and you have to consume it, and people thought it was the greatest thing in the world, but they didn't understand what they were using. They were sold a bill of goods. I know this. I've looked at many pieces of equipment that have been overrun by it. Only thing I can say from here on out is that if in the future you can look at the maintenance of your equipment, find a way that you can advance your own knowledge. In other words, my father used to say to me about the trucks, there's a difference between having a blowout on a tire and having a flat tire. A flat tire is where you know you're losing air out of that tire. A blown out tire is because you neglected it and you didn't check the air in your tires. Okay? This is something that is got to be the same thing with your engines. Got to be the same thing with your fuel. Your fuel delivery system is the lifeblood of your performance of your engine. Remember, the fuel that is going in your engine today is dry. When that fuel goes into the combustion chamber, your rings, you have piston rings. The bottom rings are getting their supply of lubricity, of lubricant, from the oil in the bottom end of that crankshaft. It's slapping that oil up. It's getting on the cylinder or on the liner. The top ring is starving to death. And it used to be, years past, and all through time of the engines being built, that the lubricity came in with the fuel and into the top of the engine. And when it came in there for the compression and everything, what did it do? It lubricated that top ring and that cylinder. Now that the fuel is dry, that top ring is sliding in there and just digging off the side of the walls of the liner. We say, well, the truck's still running. The truck is declining. I have classes at different Cummins, Caterpillar dealerships, locations that sell the engines and things. was giving a class not too long ago in Kansas. And I've tried to be fair because these are the supporters of this specific engine, so you don't just go beat up everybody to death about it. But you got to be honest. And I'm talking to some men at a particular engine group, and I'm saying, we're seeing engines have in-frames at 400, 500,000 miles. And one of the young guys raises his hand up and he says, sir, I'm sorry to tell you this, but we're doing in-frames on some engines here at 200, 250,000 miles. Okay? If you've been in this industry for any period of time, it was just a rule of thumb that you did an in-frame at 1 million miles. The old 8V92s, the 3406s, the old B model cats that were out, things like that. Even some of the two-stroke, like the 92s that were out. Excuse me. At 900,000 miles, you started to look for where's the shop that I'm going to have pull the wrenches on this and do my in-frame. How is it we've gone from that to some engines we have that are out there with the technologies we have, getting 500,000 mile in-frames, 700,000 mile in-frames? Why is it that we have particulate matter traps, your catalytic converters of today on the trucks? Why are we sold a bill of goods that is the way to go when we're burning the fuel incorrectly because we have a lower quality fuel? So what we do is instead of having a quality fuel, we have crap fuel, and then we can't burn it in the combustion chamber, so we take it out of the combustion chamber to a particulate matter trap that ends up catching it. Then we go through a regen, what is this particulate matter trap? It's an incinerator. That's all it is. It's an incinerator. You inject fuel when it goes through its regen into the system to ignite, to incinerate the raw fuel and the particulate that you didn't burn in the first place. I know I've been kind of rude and rough and obnoxious about it. I just want to impact you any way I can when I have the opportunity. I've done this too long. I've seen too many people, good people, have trucks. They come into this business. They've given it their heart, their soul. And then what they end up doing is they leave the industry broken. And they've been broken by sometimes not something of their own doing. If you're too ignorant to go out here and check your own oil, if you're too low to time that you can't get up and go check the tires or have a way of monitoring your tire system and it's going to destroy it, that'd be on you. But you need to step up if you can and look at what you're consuming and ask questions. A fuel jobber does not know what's in his fuel. If you go into a truck stop and say, what is my fuel treated with? They don't know. They don't know because they're not paid to know. How many of you know what compound is in your tires? How many of you know what BTUs of the fuel you're consuming today is in your truck? Most expensive parts of operation, and you don't know. It's time to learn. It's time to learn if you want to stay in this because it's a competitive market. If I can help you, if the boys can help you, do anything we can. I come from a trucking family. I've seen it take a lot from my family. It's a hard life. It's the most honorable life that you can do because you guys supply the nation. Without you, you are the infantry of the nation in regards to transportation. I want to thank you guys for taking the time to let me rattle off and say what I had to say. I'm going to have Thomas come up here. He's going to share a little bit about the clean fire materials is one of the things that we supply. But if there's analytical support that we could ever do for you, had a gentleman here come up to me, show me some pictures. And the pictures were of something that was in his fuel. Crazy things. I've seen hundreds and hundreds of different materials in fuels over the year. I can't tell you what's in that fuel, but I'll have somebody else tell me, oh, that's algae. Do you know there's no such thing as algae in fuel? It's a microbial. It's a single-cell microorganism. And what it does is it eats the paraffin, the wax in your fuel, that's your energy. And then it turns out and its byproduct is more water. And then it gets its oxygen from the water to create more of itself. But if you have a situation in the future where you end up getting a contaminant, I told this gentleman, go to the store, buy yourself some mason jars. Get some mason jars off the shelf at the store, put them in your side pocket. If you get it, put some of that fuel in the side pocket and let me take a look at it. Send it down to us and we'll do an analysis for you and help you get back on the road. Call the boys or myself. We'll help you if we can. So with that, I want to turn it over to Thomas. I want to thank you all for taking the time to listen to me. And I wish you all the very best. And please, God be with you and safe. Okay? Thank you.
Yeah, does anybody have questions they would like to ask on fuel?
If not, you can
get with us
talk
later.
After.
Okay, thank you. All right, so longevity through preventive maintenance. Just to recap on some of the things that he was talking about, to have longevity through preventive maintenance or longevity, you all know or hear probably because you burn fuel, and if you burn fuel, at a lot of times you've had the problem of running into that you've had to change fuel filters earlier than the scheduled time that you're supposed to, or fuel related issues that can be taken care of by just regular maintenance on your vehicle and preventive maintenance, and that would come from taking care of a lot of that through as simple as adding an additive to your fuel. So if you add, such as Clean Fire, So Clean Fire diesel fuel additive is a multifunctioning additive that we've put together to take care of all known issues with fuel, and that's considering lubricity, combustibility, cetane improvers. We also include water disbursements to take care of the water. A lot of you have water separators on your trucks that help remove this water. You can do yourself. And other vehicles or equipment don't have any water separators on them. So the one thing is to get rid of that water through the disbursement of it. And also microbial contamination, known as algae. The way to do that is, a lot of people know biocides, of course, and the safer way to do it is to starve the bug in the system and keep it from being able to thrive in your fuel systems. So if you add just a simple dosage of the Clean Fire, you can keep that environment that it's able to thrive in away from it, and it'll keep the bugs from growing. And also we have detergent in our product that is to help clean the fuel system and move those things to your fuel filters. That way you're able to remove it entirely from the system. Also a stabilizer for bulk tanks. If you have bulk storage or you have a piece of equipment that you're going to be setting for a long period of time, tractors or whatnot, this product will stabilize the fuel to give it a longer shelf life. More power, or BTU. It has a great cetane improver, so to help those pieces of equipment start that have been sitting with older fuel. So if there's any way that we could help describe or show you the way these things work, you guys can stop by our booth. We have 2 booths here at the show. It's 60049 in the west wing, and then 13080 in the north wing. And we'd like to sit down and talk with you any way we can, explain some of the stuff a little bit better than being up here and doing it. But that's all I'd really like to share with you. If you could, just check us out online or stop by the booth. We really appreciate your time. Thank you.